gym teacher who made me strip to my underwear in front of the class is now the school principal, so I organized his beatdown. When I was in middle school, our gym teacher had this tradition where he would line up all the fat kids and go around smacking their buttocks with a stick. One day I snapped and told him I wouldn't stand in the line because he was hurting me, and I didn't want that. He lashed out and threw a basketball in my face, which hurt really bad and even gave me a nosebleed, but he didn't let me go to the nurse's office and instead told me, strip to your underwear or next I'll throw a baseball. I was so scared that I almost wet my pants. I did as he said, but I was shaking and crying the entire time. He didn't even let me wipe the red that was oozing out of my nose while he turned to everyone and said, look at all that fat on his body. That means he's lazy and will never go anywhere in life except the kitchen. Everyone burst into laughter and I just stood there humiliated. I went home sobbing that day and refused to go back to school. My parents were angry, or at least they pretended to be. As soon as the school board mentioned the huge settlement fee in exchange for staying quiet, they accepted it. They used that money to go on vacation while I was sent to boarding school in another town. I spent the next decade being scared of mirrors and gym teachers, even after I lost my weight. I went to college and became a cross-country runner, which was a little ironic. But then my parents passed away in an accident and I had to go back home for their funeral. I picked up a newspaper to catch up on local news and the top headline read, Mayor Sid, the best role model for our children, followed by a picture of that same gym teacher who traumatized me. I locked up and I almost fell back into my self-loathing mode. He wasn't just living carefree. He was out there giving speeches and living without a single consequence of his actions. I knew something broke in me right there and then because I stayed back to expose him, not out of rage or bitterness, but for closure. I started attending town hall meetings and would sit all the way in the back where you would hear the small whispers, and I heard a very big one. He had made a policy that allowed school teachers to discipline kids in whatever way they wished. One time, a kid got his braces knocked out and passed out from the pain. The teacher simply continued the class while the kid laid there on the ground. His mother was sitting right next to me with an empty look in her eyes. She told me about the day she had confronted Sid in public. He called me an attention seeker and said I was mentally unstable. Then he took my kid away and placed him in a juvenile center. I had to prove my sanity for 2 years before they gave him back to me. So now I'm too scared to speak up, but I still come here, hoping that one day someone will give him what he deserves. I listened to her story and realized that Sid wasn't just a teacher now. He was the mayor. He was practically untouchable if I wanted to deliver his consequences through the system. So I simply went outside the system. Back in my hometown, I had made friends with the worst type of people while training for my races. They didn't like anyone outside their circle, but respected people who respected them. They knew about what Sid had done to me and had turned it into a funny story. I went back and told them that he was mayor now and what he had done to that woman. I told them, I can pay you if you want, but I won't be able to sleep knowing he's still walking without a limp after everything he's done. They agreed under one condition, that I accompanied them and got my own hands dirty. We went to the bar he was at with masks on, and because it was a small town, his security detail was just 2 dudes who ran as soon as they saw us. Sid made a beeline for the back door, but it was already blocked, so he had nowhere to run. 2 of my guys held his arms, and he started negotiating right on cue. Let me go, and I can give you money, a lot of it. But that's not what I came for. I was holding a baseball in my hand and attacked his face with it. His nose was bleeding in 2 swings, but I didn't stop until the baseball crumbled in my hands. I didn't feel satisfied when it was over, but I did feel relieved, almost like a weight was lifted off my chest. Sid ended up with brain damage and turned into a vegetable, so obviously he was removed as mayor. A few weeks later, I got a letter in mail from that woman thanking me and wishing me a good life.